There are days when the Patriots don't just feel like a team getting ready for the season. They feel like a team in motion. And when Mike Vrabel starts choosing his words that carefully, when the market around this offense starts heating up, and when key names on the roster keep drifting into the middle of the conversation, I'm not treating that like a coincidence. It feels like a live situation behind the scenes, like the front office is working multiple doors at once, like this franchise is trying to move past the noise and strike at the right moment. That's the read today, because these signals coming together could shape 2026 more than people realize. If you track every clue, hit that like button. Now the conversation moves into a spot that could raise the ceiling of this offense, because Mike Vrabel was careful with his words, but he was not random. When he talks about strengthening the team, mentions Elliott Wolf, Ryan Cowden, talks with other teams, and at the same time keeps the draft as the priority, that does not sound like contradiction. That sounds like a plan. That sounds like a coach who does not want to show the full play, but also does not want to cool off a path that is very clearly being explored. And that brings A.J. Brown into this, and it brings him in with real weight. This rumor has been hanging around New England since February, but now it has a more serious layer because of the calendar and the money. Philadelphia would take a massive dead cap hit if this happened before June, while after June 1, the situation becomes a lot more manageable. On the Patriots side, the space is there. And when cap space, need, and Vrabel's old connection to the player all line up, nobody should look at that like it means nothing. The way I read the back room on this one is simple. New England does not want to move like a desperate team, but it also does not want to miss the chance to give Drake Maye a target who changes the geometry of the field. Brown is not just a big name. Brown is an outside receiver. He is steady production. He is instant respect from opposing defenses. He is the kind of guy who forces the other coordinator to redraw coverage. That changes third down. It changes play action. It even changes how the run game breathes. But this also comes with a price. Not just money, but future picks. And that is where the real tension lives. If the Eagles want a heavy package built around a first-round pick, New England has to decide what matters more: holding ammo for 2027 or speeding up the offensive climb of the franchise quarterback. To me, that is where Vrabel's comments get even more interesting. He did not shut any door in the draft because maybe the plan is exactly that. Do not tie yourself to one single outcome. If the board opens up, attack it. If it doesn't, keep building the roster with discipline. That is why this rumor is still alive. Not because the internet is freaking out, but because the pieces fit too well to ignore. And when a coach says very little, but leaves just enough room for everybody to feel there is smoke behind the wall, the vibe in New England changes. Fans start to feel like this is not just noise getting tossed around. It is a real possibility with timing, context, and franchise-level impact. Now the back room shifts to a different table. Out goes the trade market, in comes the draft room, and this is exactly where New England cannot make the most dangerous mistake of the week, acting like A.J. Brown is already part of the package. Because that is not how serious front offices work. If there is a real shot at a big move after June, great. But Thursday night demands cold blood, a clean board read, and answers for the roster that exists right now, not the dream roster. And that matters even more when pick 31 starts getting close. If this strong wide receiver group really pushes talent down the board, the Patriots are going to have a decision that might split people on the outside. But inside that building, it has to be handled with total calm. Denzel Boston brings profile. Omar Cooper Jr. brings explosiveness. KC Concepcion brings versatility and production. None of those guys should be treated like consolation prizes. That is the point. A lot of people look at a receiver in that range and instantly think about past misses. But a new draft deserves a new evaluation. And I honestly think it would be a mistake to use the Brown rumor as an excuse to pass on a playmaker if one drops right into New England's lap. Because one move does not cancel out the other. If the Patriots see real value in a wide receiver late in the first round, it makes perfect sense to strike now and still watch the market later. A team trying to make life easier on a young quarterback cannot build with just one layer. As for Concepcion, I get why some people see the size and think he overlaps with Douglas or Efton Chisholm. I do. But sometimes that read stops too early. The Patriots just went after Romeo Doubs because they want more alignment flexibility, cleaner route work, and more guys who can create separation in different parts of the field. And Concepcion fits into that conversation. Not in the exact same way, but he fits. What feels most important behind the scenes is this: the franchise cannot let a possible future move block a real present opportunity. If the board says offensive line or edge, fine. There is logic in that. But if a true difference maker is sitting there at receiver, passing on him just because of overlap fears or early hope could cost you. And a team trying to grow with Drake Maye cannot waste that kind of window. Some stories come in loud. This one doesn't. This one slides in from the side, almost quietly, and maybe that is exactly why it feels more unsettling. Kayshon Boutte is back in trade talks, and the detail that keeps this story alive is not just the rumor itself. It is the timing. Again, timing is everything. Boutte just had the most productive season of his career. He showed up. He grew inside the offense. He started building a real connection with Drake Maye. On its own, that would make a lot of people think he should be more protected on this roster. But NFL backrooms rarely run on attachment. They run on timing, contracts, role fit, and what the team wants to become next. And when you put those pieces together, it is easy to see why his name is back in the mix. Boutte is heading into the final year of his rookie deal. The wide receiver room has changed a lot. Romeo Doubs came in on a real investment. The A.J. Brown rumor is still hanging over the room. And if Brown really steps into that picture after June, he fills the exact kind of outside receiver role Boutte had started to grow into. That is where this gets uncomfortable for fans because it hits two truths at the same time. First, New England may see value in moving him now before the return gets smaller later. Second, trading Boutte right now would also mean giving up on a player who finally started paying back the bet and figuring out how to survive in this offense. His absence at the start of voluntary workouts only throws more shadow on the whole thing. Not because that alone solves the mystery, but because at a time when everything is being watched closely, every presence and every absence carries weight. And when the player's name is already floating around in backroom conversations, every little detail becomes fuel. So let me throw this to Patriots Nation. If it were up to you, is Boutte still part of Drake Maye's growth, or is he the right piece to unlock a bigger move? Because that kind of call is what separates a roster built on impulse from one built with conviction. With all the talk around rumors, trades, and the draft, there was one minicamp detail that, to me, says something very different about the state of this roster. Gonzalez showed up, and I know for some people that might sound simple, almost expected. To me, it is not. A corner at his level, with a major extension sitting out there and the whole market watching the position, does not need to send a message through a press conference. Sometimes the message is just showing up on the field. And that matters because the Patriots have not handled this the way a lot of fans hoped they would. The fifth-year option took longer than it should have to become official, and the talk around an extension has not exactly sounded urgent. Meanwhile, the market keeps moving. Other corners keep landing big deals, and the price of a player like Gonzalez is not going to sit still and wait for anybody. But even with all of that, he showed up. At the very least, that suggests professionalism, confidence in his own value, and a willingness not to poison the room at this stage of the calendar. And for a team trying to rebuild its identity, that matters. Because Gonzalez is not just a great player. He is a piece that holds the structure of the defense together, changes matchups, erases margin for error, and lets the rest of the system play with more freedom. Behind the scenes, I read his presence as a sign of good faith that New England needs to respect. Not as permission to drag this extension out. The opposite. If the player is showing up, working, and doing his part of the relationship, then the franchise needs to treat this priority like a real priority. Serious teams do not mess around with this kind of foundation. Because in the end, there are things more expensive than a big contract. One of them is making a cornerstone feel secondary. And Mike Vrabel's Patriots need to prove early that they understand that difference. At the end of the day, what stands out from this moment is not just a pile of rumors or random headlines. What stands out is the feeling that New England is touching some of the most sensitive parts of this roster all at once, and that usually comes right before a major decision. There is the chance to raise the level of the offense. There is a draft that demands precision. There is a young piece who could be part of a trade. And there is a defensive star showing real commitment before the pen even hits the paper. That is what makes this whole moment feel heavier if you follow the Patriots closely. If you are living through this read with us, subscribe and come back tomorrow, because this space belongs to Patriots Nation.